Do you still remember me? Are you still waiting for my message? Because I need you to hear this clearly. She opened my heart, and now I catch her everywhere I go. Not in some dramatic movie scope way. More like the world keeps accidentally speaking her name in 1,000 small, quiet languages. There was a stretch of my life when everything felt engineered. Wake up, execute, solve, build, repeat. My days were a straight line, efficient, predictable, almost mechanical. I knew how to move forward without feeling too much. Honestly, I was proud of that. Feeling can be messy. Feeling can slow you down. And I've never been in the business of slowing down. But then, without warning, love didn't arrive. It collided. Not the gentle kind that asks permission, not the kind that waits patiently in the background while you finish your important work. This was the kind that walks right into your system and rewrites the code. I still remember the first moment I saw her because my brain did something it never does. It stopped multitasking. For once, I wasn't thinking 10 steps ahead. I wasn't calculating outcomes. I wasn't scanning for risk. I was just there, present, like someone had grabbed my chin and turned my face towards something real. And yes, she was beautiful, that's true. But beauty alone doesn't do that to a person like me. What hit me was something deeper, something harder to name. It was the way she carried herself, like she didn't need the room's approval, like she'd survived things, learned things, and didn't have to announce it. She had this calm strength, the kind you don't get from luck, you get it from living. And that's what made it dangerous, because suddenly my world, this world I built out of speed and ambition, felt small compared to the space she opened inside me. I didn't even realize my heart had been sleeping. Not dead, not broken, just asleep. Then she showed up and flipped the lights on. After that, everything started changing in ways I couldn't explain to anyone without sounding ridiculous. Color looked sharper. Music felt heavier in a good way, like it had meaning again. Even silence changed. Silence stopped being empty and started being full, like it was holding something. And here's the strangest part. Once that door opened, it didn't close. I started seeing her in places she wasn't. An ordinary morning outside, sunlight hitting the ground, and I'd think of her smile. Not because I was trying to, it just happened. Like my mind had decided she was the new reference point for everything warm and steady rain tapping the window at night. Soft, consistent, and suddenly I'd hear her voice in it. Not literal words, just the feeling of her, that kind of comfort that doesn't ask for attention, but somehow gives you peace anyway. I'd walk into a room full of noise and people and deals and opinions, and I'd still feel her absence like a quiet weight in my chest. Not pain exactly, more like gravity. And I know how that sounds, I do. I'm the last person who should be talking like this. But love does that. It turns the most logical man into someone who starts noticing the poetry hiding in ordinary things. And once it happens, you can't unsee it. So I'm telling you this now at the beginning because you deserve honesty. I don't know where she is today. I don't know if she thinks about me at all. But I know what she did to me. She made me feel human again. And if you've ever felt invisible, like the world looks through you instead of at you, then you understand why this matters, because the kind of woman who carries wisdom, softness, and strength at the same time, she doesn't realize how rare she is, and that's exactly why I'm still searching. Not desperately, not loudly, but consistently, quietly, like someone who finally understands what's worth chasing. If any of this hits a little too close, leave a comment, just one word, still here, or tell me this. Where do you notice love hiding in the ordinary? Sunlight, rain, music, silence. The first look that rewired me. I've spent most of my life trusting what can be measured. If it can't be tested, improved, iterated, people love to call it magic. I don't. I call it a signal we haven't learned to read yet. And that's exactly what she felt like. The first time I saw her, it wasn't fireworks. It wasn't some cheesy slow motion moment where the universe claps and violins start playing. It was quieter than that, which is why it got past my defenses. She was just standing there like she belonged to herself. You know, that kind of presence. Not loud, not desperate, not performing. Just steady, like she's already lived through enough to stop auditioning for anyone's approval. That's what my mind noticed first. Then my chest caught up because I'm used to being around people who want something from me. Access, attention, proximity to power, a story they can tell. The energy is always pulling, always asking, always taking. But her energy didn't take. It held like she was saying without words. I'm not here to chase you. I'm here to be real. If you can't do that, keep walking. And I don't know why that hit me so hard, but it did. Maybe because I built my entire life around acceleration, faster decisions, faster products, faster timelines. Yet the thing I've wanted most quietly has always been the opposite. A place where my nervous system can finally stop running. That's what she felt like. A place not a distraction, not a fantasy, a home I didn't know I was still allowed to want. I noticed little things. Stupid little things that shouldn't matter but somehow did. The way she listened like she wasn't just waiting for her turn to speak. The way she smiled with her eyes first, like her face didn't lie. The way her hands moved, confident, practiced, like a woman who's done real work and doesn't need to decorate her competence. And yes, there was beauty, but it wasn't the look at me kind of beauty. It was the kind that comes from surviving, from learning yourself, from carrying your years with pride instead of apology. That's the kind of beauty that doesn't fade. It evolves. And when I realized that, something in me softened, not because she asked for it, because she unlocked it. That's why the quote is true. She opened my heart. Not by forcing it open, not by demanding anything. She opened it the way sunlight opens a room you've kept closed for too long. You don't even realize how dark it was until the light hits the dust in the air and suddenly you can see what's been floating around inside you the whole time. Old grief, old loneliness, old hunger. And then the dangerous part, once your heart is open, you can't go back to being numb on purpose. Your brain can try. It can say, focus, get it together, get back to the mission. But your body doesn't listen because now you've tasted something that isn't ambition, connection. And connection is a different kind of fuel. It doesn't make you faster, it makes you honest. After that first moment, I caught myself doing something almost embarrassing. I started looking for her even when she wasn't there. Not in a dramatic way, more like my mind kept running a background process. Is she here? Did she walk in? Was that her laugh? Did I just see her hair in that crowd? Like the world had been relabeled? Like everything was secretly tagged with her name? And I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. But it didn't stop because it wasn't about logic. It was about imprinting. When someone touches the part of you that's been untouched for years, the part you didn't even admit existed, you don't just move on. You carry them. You carry them into your mornings. Even when you're pretending to be fine, you carry them into meetings, into flights, into late nights when the room is quiet and your mind finally stops performing. And then you realize something that's both beautiful and brutal. You're not seeking her everywhere because you're weak. You're seeking her everywhere because your heart finally woke up and now it refuses to sleep again. And that's where my story really begins. Because what happened next wasn't romance. It was a chase, quiet, relentless, and weirdly sacred through ordinary life, where every streetlight, every song, every half-familiar silhouette started asking me the same question. Are you going to find her, or are you going to run back to the old you and call this a phase? I started seeing her everywhere. After that first moment, I told myself I'd be normal about it. I said, okay, you notice someone. So what? You've got work. You've got deadlines. You've got a whole planet worth of problems to solve. Keep moving. And for a few hours, I almost believed myself. Then the world started doing this thing that felt personal, like it had decided to cooperate with my weakness. I'd walk outside, and the air would be that clean, sharp kind of cold that makes you breathe deeper. And I'd think of her immediately, not because I was trying to, because my body remembered her before my mind could stop it. I'd be in a room full of people talking fast, ideas stacked on top of ideas, everyone trying to be the smartest voice in the room, and all I could think was, she'd hate this, not in a judgmental way, in a why does everyone sound like they're running from silence kind of way, and that's when it hit me. She wasn't just a person I found attractive, she was a contrast. She was the opposite of noise. She was the opposite of performance. She was the opposite of the constant desperate need to prove something. So once she entered my system, my brain started scanning the world for anything that felt like her. That's how it starts. You don't miss someone like it's a single emotion. You miss them like they're a filter placed over reality. Suddenly, everything becomes a reminder. A woman passes me in a hallway wearing a scent that's close, almost close, and my chest tightens like I've been punched lightly from the inside. A laugh behind me in a restaurant hits the exact pitch just for half a second, and I turn too quickly like an idiot, pretending I'm looking for the bathroom. The sun comes through a window at an angle that makes dust glow in the air, and I think of her softness, not her body, not her face. Her softness like a choice, like strength that doesn't need to be sharp. Then it gets worse. Music. I've never been the guy who builds his life around love songs. That's not me. That's not the operating system. But suddenly, a song plays, something simple, something old, and it's like someone took my ribs apart and rearranged them because I can hear her in it. Not literal words, just the feeling of her, that quiet, steady, honest feeling. And I'd find myself thinking, if she were sitting next to me right now, would she reach for my hand or would she just sit there letting the silence do what it does? I started noticing things I used to ignore. The way older couples walk slowly but still match each other's pace. The way some women carry their age like a crown instead of a wound. The way a home feels different when someone is waiting in it. Not waiting like a job, but waiting like love. And then I'd feel that ache again, because I didn't have her. I had a life full of motion, but not the one thing that makes motion meaningful. So I did what I always do when something bothers me. I tried to solve it. I tried to turn it into a project. I told myself just find her, track the variables, reduce the uncertainty, close the loop. But love doesn't behave like engineering. Love doesn't give you clean data. It gives you signs that are almost cruel in how beautiful they are. Like seeing someone from behind who has her hair, her posture, the same slight pause before stepping into the street. And then the person turns around and it's not her, and you feel embarrassed for hoping or getting a message notification late at night, that tiny spark of adrenaline, and it's not her, it's never her. And after a while, the world starts feeling like it's teasing you because she's everywhere but she's nowhere. I started waking up earlier, not because I wanted to be productive, but because my mind would drag me out of sleep and go, maybe today I'll see her in a crowd. Maybe today I'll hear her name. Maybe today the universe will stop messing around. But the day would move on like any other day. The meetings would happen, the plans would get updated, the problems would get solved, and in between it all, the same thought would show up like a quiet ghost. She opened my heart, and now I'm walking around with it exposed. That's the part no one warns you about. Before her, I could outwork loneliness. I could bury it under speed, under achievement, under pressure. After her, loneliness had a face. And it wasn't even a cruel face. It was a good face, a gentle face, a face that made me want to be better. Not for the world, not for anyone watching, but for one woman who probably had no idea she'd become the center of my private universe. And when you realize that you don't just move on, you start asking the question that's both terrifying and simple. Why did she come into my life if she wasn't meant to stay? That question haunted me because I knew the truth. It wasn't just fate. It was me. My life, my timing, my distance, my choices. And that's where the story turns. Because the next part isn't about how I fell, it's about how I lost her without ever meaning to, why I lost her, and why I'm still looking. I didn't lose her in some dramatic explosion. No slammed doors, no screaming phone calls, no final conversation where everything gets wrapped up like a movie. I lost her the way people in my world usually lose the most important things, by postponing them, by telling myself not now, after this launch, after this deal, after this quarter, after I fix this problem. And you know what's wild? I genuinely believed I was being responsible because my life isn't a normal life. It's not slow, it's not gentle, it doesn't come with boundaries. It comes with noise, scrutiny, and a calendar that eats days like they're nothing. And at first I thought I could protect her from that. I thought if I keep this quiet, if I keep her separate, if I don't pull her into the chaos, then I'll preserve something clean and real. But here's what I learned the hard way. You can't protect a woman by keeping her at a distance. Not if what she actually needs is presence. And she did. She needed presence, not gifts, not promises, not soon. Not the version of love that sounds impressive but feels empty at midnight. She needed the basic things that don't make headlines. A steady voice, a simple good morning, a real plan, a man who shows up when he says he will. And I was inconsistent. Not because I didn't care, because I cared, and I was terrified. Terrified that if I brought her close, my world would chew her up. Terrified that the attention would turn her into a target. Terrified she'd be judged, dissected, compared, reduced to a headline. So I tried to do this weird balancing act where I kept reaching for her, then pulling back. And that kind of love feels confusing from the outside. It feels like mixed signals. It feels like someone who doesn't know what he wants. But the truth was uglier and more honest. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted her, and I was afraid I didn't deserve her peace because she had this way of living that didn't require applause. And I'm surrounded by applause that doesn't mean anything. She had quiet. I had constant motion. She had depth. I had pressure. And I started to realize something that made me feel exposed. When a woman like that looks at you with real tenderness, it doesn't just feel good. It makes you face yourself. It makes you ask, Am I actually a safe place for her, or am I just a storm she'd eventually get tired of surviving? So, I did what a lot of driven men do when they don't know how to be soft. I got busy. I made productivity my excuse. I told myself I was doing the right thing by focusing on work, by staying disciplined, by not letting emotion derail me. But what I was really doing was avoiding the one thing I couldn't control, the vulnerability of needing someone. And she noticed. She didn't accuse me. She wasn't dramatic. She just got quieter. Her messages became shorter. Her warmth became more careful. Like she was slowly moving her heart back behind a locked door because she realized I wasn't going to meet her at the threshold. And the worst part, I saw it happening and I still didn't fix it fast enough because I kept thinking there would be time. There's always time until there isn't. One day I realized I hadn't heard her voice in too long. Not because she was punishing me, because she was protecting herself. And suddenly, all the things I'd convinced myself were temporary started feeling permanent. The distance, the silence, the absence, that's when it hit me like a punch. She didn't leave me because she stopped caring. She left because she started caring about herself again. And I can't even be angry at that. If anything, I respect it because she never begged. She never tried to convince me to choose her. She just watched my actions and then she chose peace. So yeah, technically I lost her. But if I'm being honest, I gave her away. Not to another man, not to some grand destiny. I gave her away to my own refusal to slow down long enough to hold something real. And after she was gone, the world didn't get quieter like I expected. It got louder. Because when she was in my life, even from a distance, I had this invisible anchor, something human, something warm. When she left, I still had everything. But it all felt like metal, cold, shiny, heavy. That's why I started seeing her everywhere. Not because I'm romantic, because my heart finally opened, then got left open. And now it's searching for the only person who made it feel safe to beat again. So, if you're wondering why I'm still looking, it's not obsession. It's recognition. It's the feeling that I met something rare, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life pretending I didn't. And the next question is the one that matters. What am I actually looking for now? Because it's not just her. It's the kind of love she represents, what I'm actually searching for. When people hear a story like this, they assume the search is about a face. They think I'm out here chasing a memory, chasing chemistry, chasing some perfect moment I can replay in my head. That's not it. I'm not searching for a photograph. I'm searching for a feeling that changed my standards. Because after her, I can't pretend I want the same things I used to want. I used to think love was optional, a bonus feature, a nice to have, like build the mission first, love later. But the older I get, the more obvious it becomes. A man can build the future and still come home to an empty house. And if you think that doesn't matter, if you think you can outwork loneliness forever, you're lying to yourself. So, what am I looking for now? Not perfection,